What's good, y'all? Welcome to my review for this week's episode of JoJo's Adventure Golden Wind. And man, we're almost at the finish line. I think we got about 2 more episodes left before part 5 is done. What an insane, batshit insane part of JoJo part 5 has been, man. This has been absolute batshit insanity, and yo, this episode's fire. Huge props goes to the key animators for this episode. My god, that they do an excellent job. The episode as a whole looked absolutely beautiful. And yeah, man, not much more I can say other than let's just jump right in. So we start the episode off where we left off last week with, of course, the boss punching right through Misa / Trish, and it looked like she might die, and we saw her soul go away, and he goes and rushes towards the arrow. So pick up from there. The boss obviously then grabs you. He's like grabs it between his both hands and kind of like slams him shut. Make sure the arrow actually impales him right. It's like and clapping together. It's like, now behold, as Emperor Crimson reaches its ascension, and it punches and it actually it actually goes right and it goes through him. It cuts through him, but penetrates it. It penetrates his hand, and it looks like, oh shit. And like for a moment there, I thought, oh shit. It looks like the boss might actually win this. It looks like he might actually, win, go to a separate form, But it just goes right through him, and nothing happens. All we see is these bits of his hand kind of fall off as the arrow just goes right through him, and he's like, what? And so then he's trying to grab the arrow again and again and again, but it just keeps phasing right through him until it falls and hits the ground. And he's like, what? Oh, what have you brats done? He's trying to figure out why the arrow won't select him, why he is not worthy to wield the arrow. We then see this blue smoke, kind of hovering over the area, and we actually start seeing people's souls start to leave their bodies, or at least leave their bodies that they got switched into. They haven't gone back to their original bodies yet. They're just out of there, just kind of standing there in limbo, I guess you could say. And so he's looking behind him, and he's like, what? No! And his actually facial expressions there looked really cool. So, like I said, the animation for this episode was very, very good. So huge props to the people over at Data Production for this episode, the key animators as well. But anyway, so he looks over behind him. It's that smoke like the blue smoke actually coming from Silver Chariot Requiem. And then we actually see Bucciarati's spirit leaving, of course, Diavolo. He's like, well, it seems that your perfect eyes do not see this coming. And I'm out here thinking, and the JoJo theme, or I should say JoJo's theme, actually doesn't start playing, even though this would have been the perfect opportunity to. This was this was one of those JoJo moments, where you could have played it and it would have worked perfectly. But they didn't. Regardless of such, since we know that actually that spear thing is what incapacitated Silver Chariot Requiem. Bucciarati notices the thing. He says and he mentioned something because of your desire to grab the arrow, because of your desire of the arrow, that's why he didn't chose her. Your desire to destroy that sphere is the reason you couldn't get the arrow. And so then, while he's saying this, all these little zippers are surrounding that sphere to obviously fully destroy Emperor Crimson. And he says, I have no such inclination. I love Bucciarati, man. I love his dub voice, man. He's absolutely fucking fantastic. And then Emperor Crimson starts to wait. First off, I gotta mention the title of this episode. The title of this episode was called King of Kings, which when I saw that, I think you guys will see this in my reaction. I just started laughing for a bit because when I think King of Kings, all I think about is the game, Triple H, the King of Kings. Oh hell, bow down, Motorhead, all that shit. I just felt kind of funny. I mean, he is called, and so then, as I was saying, back to the episode. So, Emperor Crimson is trying to reason with wait, Bucciarati, is there anyone more worthier than me to grab the arrow? Can you think of even one person? And he's begging, trying to reason with him. And Bucciarati ain't biting. The zippers keep piling up. He's like, I will not let your feeble hands to grasp this arrow! And he runs right towards it, and he says that everyone return to your spirit, to your original bodies, post haste! And the thing explodes, and of course, which completely finally destroys Silver Chariot Requiem. And of course, everyone returns to their normal bodies, and Trish's soul comes rushing right back into her body. And then we see Bucciarati now as just this as just like, this like gold cloud figure thing, whatever you want to call it. Obviously insinuating that it is finally his time to pass. And so as he's looking up, Jordo's looking up at him, he tells him that he's glad that he met him, that, about working together and all that stuff, and that even though his body was claimed by fate, or that his death was claimed by fate, or whatever, he said something along those lines, that his soul was reborn, and that he thanks Jordo for restoring his faith. And yeah, so he pretty much, and then from there everyone just kind of like, goes off into the clouds, at least for a moment, after, he says, you have resolved my fate. Yeah, so then we actually head back to Emperor Crimson and Mista. And so Emperor Crimson is reaching towards the air. I think Mista was as well. And then, as he is cursed, Diavolo is like cursing at the world. He says, quite possibly the greatest insult in the history of insults. He said, "You rot in hell, you Philistine mounts of excrement!" I don't even know what the hell that means. I don't know what the hell Philistines or whatever he said meant, but all I got was mounts of excrement. Regardless of such, I thought that was absolutely fucking hilarious, and quite possibly one of the greatest insults I have ever seen, man. So he gets out, after that god tier insult, he grabs the air, but once again, it goes through his hand. And so then so after that, Emperor Crimson's spirit, I guess you could say, is pushed back into his body, like pushed back, and Mista lands back in his and falls to the ground, but Jordo manages to catch him. Afterwards, he's just like, hey Jordo, let's never do that again. We can't have Triss dying on us twice. Triss dying on us twice now, can we? And he's like, don't worry, you Bucciarati. He'll be back before you know it, right? Before he passes out. Jordo lets him down, so like gently puts him down, and looks back, and he like stretches his hands out towards Bucciarati, and like I said, this is when the art gets like god tier shit. Like, huge props to the animators for this episode, the keyframe artists. They did an amazing job for this episode. And so Bucciarati looks at his hand. He tells Jordo to not worry about him. That he's fine, and that he is now walking the path. Now he's going down the path that he was meant to walk, and that he's going back to his point of origin. What does that mean? I don't know. Maybe he means his childhood. Maybe he means heaven. Regardless of such, that's when Bucciarati's hand slowly starts to become a cloud, and he kind of like just fades into a cloud, and goes off into distance. We actually get like this really cool shot of this building with these golden clouds over it, and then we get this other shot, which you could tell just by looking at it that this was definitely a full page in the manga. When Araki was writing this issue, was writing this chapter, and drawing it, you can tell that he gave this one shot a page all to itself. And it's it's Bucciarati kind of like in the air with like, I guess these like baby angels, I guess, surrounding around him with the golden clouds, and still that has that gold hugeness. It looks really fucking cool, and I don't know if I'm gonna put in the thumbnail or not, but I might, because it was a fucking beautiful shot. Absolutely immaculate shot, man. I absolutely loved it. And so then once that's all said and done, the clouds start to hover around Jordo's hand before, once they kind of like go away, we find out that he is holding the stand arrow. He's holding the stand arrow, and the look on his face, determination. The art there was also fantastic as well. Like I said before, the art for this episode was phenomenal. Absolutely loved it, man. And so, which actually funny enough, right there when Jordo actually grabs the stand arrow was when they went to commercial. And I'm like, really? You go to commercial now? But okay, but whatever. Anyway, so after the commercials, we see a bunch of other civilians go back into their original bodies. We see like the mom with her baby switch back to their original forms. We see the dog and his owner, who also switch forms, go back into their form. They hug each other, and the dude just starts crying while he's hugging his dog. We also see a few other ones, but then we see Diavolo return to his body, and he's just like, "What? How did this happen? I did everything right. Why didn't the arrow choose me? How could I have failed such a simple task?" And he's like cursing the world and all that shit. And he's trying to figure out why the arrow didn't choose it. He just decides, I must retreat. I have not been defeated, only delayed. Yes. And so it looks like he's about to run off, but Trish actually stops him and tells Jordan, finish the job now. Finish him now. Otherwise, he'll come back. Otherwise, otherwise we won't be able to stop him. You gotta stop him now. He has his tail between his legs. Finish him now. You gotta do it now. So then, from the blue clouds come Giorno. He's down to one knee holding the arrow, and I'm not gonna lie, they pretty much reused this animation from the OP when he picks up, has the arrow, and then throws it up into holds it up into the air. Which you guys know, which to be fair, which you guys know that I've been kind of critical of Dragon Ball Super. If you guys have been watching my reviews of Super. While it was airing, that I was constantly criticizing about reusing animation from the LP, so it wouldn't be fair of me to do the same thing here. But like Hiroaka, I'm not gonna give them too much shit over it because they don't do it that often, if ever. I'm pretty sure this is actually the only time in all of JoJo I have actually seen reused animation from the OP come back into the main show. I think this might be the first time, actually. At least that I can remember. But anyway, the clouds then the OP were gold, these ones were blue. But either way, he holds the arrow up. Of course, Diavolo's rushing towards him, he jumps into the air, and Trish's like cheering him on. She says, "Oh, my sweet dear daughter, no such thing shall happen today." And like I say, he's like jumping in the air, rushing towards Giorno. And so then he says, "Golden Wind!" and pierces himself with the arrow. And Trish says, "Alright, Sokobola, all the power from that arrow, Giorno." And it looks like we all like, "Oh shit, looks like we got in." Looks like it's about to go down. But we find out that was actually that was not what it seemed to be. It was actually a premonition, a vision of the future, sent here by Emperor Crimson. And sent by Emperor Crimson, we found that that's what actually happens in the future. And then he sees like blood everywhere, and he thinks, "I am Emperor Crimson once again shows me the truth. Once again shows me the true fate," or whatever he said. So anyway, and he purchased once again Emperor Crimson shows me that that I have won. So anyway, we finally see it actually happen this time in real time, where he pierces himself in the air. Trish says, "Alright, you do it, Silkerball power from the arrow, Giorno." But then a giant hole explodes from Golden Wind, where he pierced him with the arrow, and then blood starts coming out, and he's and he falls down, falls onto Giorno. Giorno grabs him, and he's just shocked at what happened. He's like, what happened? I thought it worked. Everyone else is shocked at what's going on there. And so then, Diavolo comes in there, and he says, "The arrow won't go with the feeble, won't give itself up to the feeble. Didn't you forget what that wretched turtle said?" Which actually, when they actually brought up the turtle, I was like, "Oh yeah, what happened to Polnareff?" We never saw what happened to the turtle. We got this whole big death sequence for Bucciarati, but we got no mention of what happened to Polnareff. Now, granted, if I remember correctly, he mentioned that he died at the Coliseum, but he switched bodies with the turtle. So I guess that means he died off screen. I guess I don't know. I kind of would like them to give me at least some sort of conclusive answer of what happened to Polnareff instead, just sweeping him under the rug or something. I found that actually kind of strange. But anyway, regardless of such. Yeah. So anyway, so afterwards he goes on, about what the Retro Turtle said. It's only the strongest wielder can lay claim to its strengths. Oh, how glad it must be that I decided to stay. Now, Emperor Crimson, die, you wretched dog! Death by a king, my final gift. And he punches him right in his head, right by his eye area, which realistically should have shattered his skull. Which I think that was his point. And as you can tell, King is a very common theme in this issue. This episode, legit. If you guys care to play a drinking game, take a shot every time someone mentions the word King in this episode. I'm sure I think you'll get a little buzz out of that one, but, anyway. So yeah. It goes on about like I am the king, and like it looks like, and everyone's like thinking like, oh no, it didn't work. The arrow didn't choose him, because like it looks like he's dying. But when Diavolo goes to reach for the arrow, it kind of just like moves on its own upward, and right when he goes to grab it, and then Trish tells Mista to look, and that there's something else like blood coming out of him. We start to see the smoke coming out of him. I believe out of the hole. I don't believe out of the hole where he impaled himself with the arrow. And once we actually saw him fall down when the arrow moved up, we actually saw in where his eye used to be, where the one that Diavolo shattered, there's another eye just chilling, obviously showing off that that golden wind is about to reach its final form. So then it starts to go. So then the arrow goes inside his arm and starts to move upwards. Diavolo is wondering, like, what the hell is this thing? What's going on? What is this unusual? What is this unknown substance? Is that the arrow? Did the arrow choose him and find him worthy? And it is burrowing itself into him. And then once it gets to like his shoulder area, he's like, "That's enough! You die now, Emperor Crimson!" And then he starts doing the whole like, "Yo, Muda thing." And so he doesn't actually say no, or he doesn't say anything. He just starts punching him. Not gonna lie, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know how I feel about that one. Araki, you gotta have him say something. You can't let someone just start punching like a madman and not say anything. You need some auras. You need a Muda. You need something, my guy. But anyway, I digress, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, so then he starts punching him again and again and again, which all he does is just pretty much like, just gets him out of like that shell or whatever. And then next thing we see after he looks up is that, and Trish mentions that the Spaniard looks like it's now a part of him, and Diavolo can't get rid of it. Is that we see Golden Wind Requiem, and it was a really cool badass shot with Jorno like pulling on his like a shirt thing. I think his hair is moving to like the left, or to the left, and it's like just looking, and you got Emperor, and you got Golden Wind Requiem right next to him. Badass shot. Low-key want to put that in the thumbnail. I don't typically like putting spoilers in my thumbnails, but this one I might make an exception for because this is fucking cool. I might still not put it in there. I haven't decided yet. You guys will see it once I finally make the thumbnail. But yeah, that's my plan, because it looks fucking sick, man. It looks absolutely fucking sick. So anyway, the Diavolo is of course shocked, but he's like, how could this be? I didn't make a single mistake. I punched right through, I felt his skull break. He should be bleeding in a pool of visceral. And then Jorno says that the only thing lasting is truth, and that and he goes on about truth and how that my friends are here, but their virtuous spirits are here. Are the reason that the arrow picked me. Yeah, I didn't catch all, but he was just talking about truth and how the only way to win is like through truth, or it's like justice through truth. And he asked him if his truth is like through good or just shallow evil or whatever, But regardless of this, after that, he pretty much he checks the premonition, sees that, and checks the premonition to see, obviously how to defeat Jordan. So he's looking, his hair moves right in front of him, which I don't think I've ever mentioned before. I might when we first saw with Doppio, but I love the last thing with that Diavolo can do, where he can see the premonitions through his hair or whatever. I always thought it looked really cool. I wonder how it looks in the manga, but anyway. So he sees Jorno kind of moving in a direction, and then he says, "It's time to obliterate time!" And then of course, the time, and we also see Mista loading up his gun and fires off some shots, and then he obliterates time, and then of course the ground starts to move out of the way and everything, and so then we see Jorno slowly moving over towards him to of course punch him and beat him and all that shit. So then Diavolo sees it, and of course he sees the bullet that Mista coming at him. He of course easily dodges it. He clenches his hand hard and just flicks the blood right on top of Jorno's eyes. Now at first we're thinking like, oh shit, is it actually over? Is the time done? And Diavolo is like you're thinking like he has this gate, he has this win in the bag, he got it all figured out, it's done, it's over, it's over. He goes on, about how it's done. So, anyway, yeah. So he thinks that he thinks it's done. He thinks that he has this win, he got the bluff, and he's like, at least try to surprise me. I almost feel bad for you. And then he's about to go in there for the final punch to end it all. And he also sees no premonition showing that he like punches right through his heart. So he knows like, oh yeah, I got this. I'm winning this match. This is easy, He thinks that this is going to be no sweat. So then he goes to punch him, but then he like stops like halfway through, like he only like maybe an inch or so away from his chest, and then or from his face, I should say. And then we see like this hornet or this wasp thing kind of move into like the background or whatever, moves into like behind him. And the next thing we know, his fist starts to go back, and then the blood from his fire from his hand starts to go back as well. And then we figure out time starts to revert back to where it initially was. Now I tweeted out actually on like what the hell can Golden Wind now reverse time? And so if I can find the tweet real quick, I'll tell you guys what he said. And actually someone actually replied to it. Yeah, time can reverse time now. And now, so this might be a small spoil. So this might be a minor spoiler for any of you guys that because I don't know if the show's going to like explain how this works later on in the episode. But regardless of such, here's what it says. So if you guys don't want to know how Golden Wind Requiem works, how this attack works, skip ahead and review. But he says, but the guy says, so shout out to him. Says its ability is called is returned to zero, essentially meaning you can revert the attackers before they start to attack them. So yeah, pretty much you can revert time. It's like it's like Emperor Crimson's attack, but in reverse, low key. It's legit that, but in reverse. Anyway, after that, and he's like, what the? And then it starts to get into like some Last Jedi shit where we have all these different Diavolos and Emperor Crimson looking behind them, and they start saying, what the? They're going in order, and he thinks that this might be some illusion, and he doesn't know what the hell's going on. Hell, I, as the viewer, don't know what the hell is going on watching this episode at this current moment. So, anyway, after all that's said and done, we then actually that Golden Wind Requiem says speak. And it says that all of what you see is indeed, your eyes are not fooling you, this is indeed reality, and that I have won this match, that even my abilities are not even known to my user Giorno Giovanna, and that it's over for you or whatever. So then afterwards, time completely reversed back to where it was before he eradicate time. You see Meeks to load up his gun, fire off his shots and everything, and Diavolo's just sitting there shopping like, you brat! How dare you! The only person that can revert time is me! And by the time he realizes, I think by the time he finally figures out what the hell's going on, is when Giorno starts doing that, and that's when the To Be Continued pops up right while he's in the middle of the beatdown. Damn, man. But yeah, man. Oh, and that is the end of the episode. Overall, this was a fantastic episode, man. I loved it. We've got about 2 episodes left before JoJo is finally done. Part 5 is finally concluded, and man, it was quite the enjoyable ride. I've been loving the show. Part 6, we still don't know when that's going to come out. I would assume probably get an announcement probably next year, probably at this point, probably get an announcement. But regardless of such, overall, I give this episode a 10 out of 10, ladies and gentlemen. So anyway, hope y'all enjoyed the video. Leave a like if you did, subscribe if you're new. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, still have links on the description box below. And as always, come back for more. See you guys next time.